Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's topic on this episode of the Elder Trolls Gaming Podcast, where we're going to talk about cross-play, cross-platform, cross-progression, cross-generation, cross-gaming. Okay,
Cross-dressing?
What? What is this mumbledy-goop? Hey,
Mumbledy-goop?
what is this shit? Every time we go to try to play a game together, it's like, oh, is it cross-play? No.
Yeah.
Oh, is it
That is the
cross-progression?
question. That's always the question.
So,
Let
me tell everybody, the listeners, even Daniel, or whoever wants to gain some knowledge here, we're going to go through them all quickly. So, cross-play is a feature where you can play with other players on other platforms. Some games offer full cross-play support, where you can play with your friends on any platform together. Some games offer semi-cross-play support. For example, only a few platforms can play with each other. Like, for instance, Concord, PS5 and PC players could play together, but no Xbox or, well, it wasn't even out for Switch, so, or Xbox. Something like that. So, where only a few platforms can play together, but leave out the other ones, and vice versa. So, there's full cross-play support, and then there's semi-cross-play support. Okay? We got that? Now, cross-platform is next. The difference between cross-play and cross-platform is that cross-platform is a game that's available on all or multiple platforms, but doesn't necessarily mean it has cross-play, which gives you the ability to play with other gamers across these platforms. So cross-platform is just saying that this game is available on multiple platforms. Now, we got cross-progression is next. Although cross-progression does not always include cross-play, cross-progression is where you can buy a game on one platform, play, save your progress on that platform, then buy it again on another platform, and continue your progress by syncing your save game and playing between the two platforms. You go sit over here at your PC, you go sit it down on your Xbox, and you just continue your game.
Correct. Play anywhere.
Xbox does this with their Play Anywhere game strategy, where you can play it on Game Pass on PC and then continue to play it on Game Pass for Xbox with their Ultimate package. But the game must state that it is cross-progression or Play Anywhere. Okay? All right. The next one, the final one, is cross-generation. This is the stupidest one, I think. This is a feature where, although not cross-platform or cross-play with other companies or platforms, this is a feature where people in the same ecosystem can play together across consoles or generation of consoles.
I think this is just some stupid thing made up by EA.
Oh, is
for
it?
their
You think so?
sports games.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Because, like, you buy... It's a different game if you buy NHL 24 on PS4 versus PS5. Like, you'd think naturally it's the same fucking game. You'd be able to play together. But I think there's some feature that they locked, or you have to pay extra to get this cross generation to play with people with the newer consoles. It is so dumb. Yeah. It's the dumbest shit I've ever seen. But I think it's just something they made up to charge people more.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, like a sales gimmick, like a marketing thing.
Yeah,
it's also cross-generation.
So, for instance,
what the fuck does that mean?
Yes, exactly. So, for instance, a game where Xbox One players can play with Xbox Series S and X players, but not PC or PS5 players, that would be considered cross-generation, like Jonathan was talking about. The PS4 people playing with PS5 people. Very stupid. You would just think it was there, right?
It's the same game. It's just a fucking scam.
Yeah.
That's a scam.
That's a scam.
Cross-generation is a scam.
Now, this leads into, like, with all that being said, right, there's got to be some work that comes into making games compatible with other platforms, other devices, other versions, all this shit, right? So what goes into these cross features available in games? Should we just go do a roundtable of questions of, like, why, what?
There's agreements, there's licensing, there's policies.
For cross-play. This is for cross-play.
Whenever one platform has to...
everything.
Yeah,
for all
for
of them.
everything.
Except for cross-generation.
Right.
That's a scam.
So if one platform has to interface with another company's platform, right? This company could be like, well, the only way we'll allow or approve your licensing or approve your whatever, right, is like if you do this and show that your players or the Xbox players are playing on Xbox. You have to be able to show that on the other platforms. Like I think that's one of the criteria.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of like
red tape and shit that they have to.
It's just policies, and there's going to be content, releasing content across different regions. You have different laws, regulations you have to follow. So I guess when you're doing this, you have to make the game kind of follow all of these different things, which I'm sure can be tedious. For example, Xbox and Windows together, that's easy for Microsoft to do because they tie it in with their agreements and all that. They already have all that. That's why you'll see like Windows and Xbox together because it's all Microsoft, like Microsoft Gaming and the Xbox Store and all that. But it's also policy. They can have policy mismatches that they have to go through and iron out when you want to make something cross-platform before releasing. There could be conditions set by the owner, like Sony or Xbox, on, like you said, cross-platform content that they need to follow a set of conditions. It's likely more political and kind of policy stuff. That's the reason why not everything is crossplay, rather than like technical limitations, because it's easy to. It's not easy, but the devs can do it. If you remember, I have this back in 2018. That's when Sony announced it would allow cross-platform play on PS4. In 2018, they for select third-party content, quote unquote, and they started with Fortnite. That was the first cross-platform game, I guess. So Sony stated that the decision to allow cross-platform play was a major policy change, and their goal remains to take a more open stance with cross-platform support. So it was first and foremost Sony's decision to kind of lift that barrier. It was just them saying, okay, we'll do it. It's not like, it was some technical feat that had to be overcome to connect like fucking Sony to Microsoft. That's not what it was. It's just policy. And it could be tons of different things like privacy. If you have an account on this, you have an account on that platform, this platform, the privacy policies have to align. These games where you have to have an in-game account, you know what I mean, to do cross progression or cross platform, they have their own policy responsibilities and that kind of thing. You know what I mean? So it's probably more complicated than you think when you're dealing with like the laws and you're dealing with laws and Privacy Act and all that stuff. So these all have to align as well. So I feel that cross progression is probably the hardest one in terms of the barriers, which is likely why it's the one feature we probably see the least of, right? Cross progression.
It's pretty rare from what I've seen.
You have to, like when you have cross progression, think about that. You have to host more data because there's more users. There's users across all platforms. You got to host all that data.
You've got to create
costs more.
Yeah, you've got to create your own like platform off the platform, like Sony's platform. You have to separate that because Sony will give you. Sony will give you X amount of stuff, right? But they're not going to be like, oh, okay, use our shit to connect.
No. You host your own. You host and pay for, the devs will host and pay for your own cloud. If you remember when we had Snake Factory on, we talked about cloud access, cost per request. It costs more to have, people across 4 platforms connecting to your game than people on one platform. So you have to have the hosting. You have to have a file structure that's accessible and kind of usable by all the different devices because they're all uploading the saves and syncing saves and everything. So it all has to mesh. And it's just more work for the developers. That's all it is. That's what it comes down to.
Tons of work.
Resources.
That they don't want to pay for. Yeah, resources.
So you're going to find, if anything is cross progression, it's going to be like AAA studios like Ubisoft with, their
CD Projekt Red with the Cyberpunk.
Kind of shit. Yeah, because they have it. That's right. I forgot about that. I forgot
what's sweet about the CD Projekt Red one is I could mod fucking items into my save file and it will still transfer that save file to my PS5 and I'll have like katanas and clothes and money. Like if I go onto my PC Cyberpunk, I'll be like, insert $1 zillion, right? And I'll save my game. And then when I go to play it on PS5, I'll have $1 zillion on PS5.
Yeah, it's Eddie's. Okay, you fucking gonk.
Eddie's,
you gonk.
Sure.
But yes, so cross progression we'll see more from big budget AAA studios. We're not going to see anything from indie developers anytime soon.
Now,
for that, I imagine.
A lot of games from indie developers are coming with crossplay out of the gate, believe it or not. I think that's because it's also engine dependent. So it might be easier to implement a crossplay feature using a more robust engine, and there's like a couple of plugins that they use, and it's easier to get the ball rolling there. And then they just wait on the publisher or the platform owner like Microsoft to sign off on the agreements and the licensing. Let's take Temtem, I believe, was crossplay right out of the gate because it's an MMO, right? So the games, if it's a multiple, what is it? Massively multiplayer online RPG.
Mullet players?
Yes.
Mullet players. Correct. Whenever you're launching that kind of game, you're going to need or want crossplay. It won't matter the cost of that, right? Because the more players you get into this world, the more players tell their friends about that world, and they come in no matter the platform. So, like, depending on the game, like a fighting game, I don't think crossplay is going to be at the top of their list. You know, for an Xbox player to play against a PlayStation player, that's probably not going to be at the top of their list. So they probably are not going to spend that kind of money to get people fighting against each other, right? But like the big games out there, let's Fortnite, Apex Legends, Call of Duty, Rocket League, Destiny 2.
These massive online platform games.
Massive, huge money in there. Obviously, they have the money and, well, at the time, resources to implement that so that more people would come in. Now, remember when Sony was like the stickler in the mud, the stick in the mud, and wouldn't allow this for anybody else other than Fortnite? Mm-hmm. I remember Rocket League, the guys at Rocket League had to fight tooth and nail against Sony to get them to allow, because they're like, crossplay's ready to go. We have it implemented in the game. We're just waiting for Sony to allow it. Mm-hmm. And they had to fight against Sony for like, I think it was like a year or something. And they finally allowed it.
Yeah.
Which brings me to my next point. So Sony's push against crossplay with other crossplay platforms. I got a couple of quotes here from Forbes, some Forbes articles.
Forbes.
Forbes Gaming, whatever the hell it is.
Forbes is a news firm.
Right.
It's like
I thought it was a financial publication.
Yeah. Well, they're a magazine.
Yeah,
they probably cover a bunch of shit.
So like whenever we
Everyone's
think
a gamer
PlayStation,
now.
whenever we think PlayStation, they make it public knowledge that money is like the top of their, companies will kind of hide that they're just doing it for the money. Sony's like, what's the bottom line? No, fuck that. Right? That's what I get from Sony. So when people would come up to Sony and be like, oh, we need the licensing for these cross-play features, yada, 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 right? Mm-hmm. Quote unquote, here's one guy says, as you know, many companies are exploring this idea, and not a single one can explain how cross-console play improves our PlayStation business. So they would make people try to pitch on why it would be a good idea for Sony to allow these cross-play features in their games, right? Mm-hmm. How is that good for our business if we're allow our users to play against other platforms?
As we've seen more and more over the last few years, it isn't about the gamers anymore and the gamers' experience. They don't give a fuck about the gamer experience. They just care about the bottom line. I get that a lot from Sony, though, is what I was saying earlier. Like that's what I get a lot from Sony. Like a lot of companies will try to hide that and be like, and kind of dance around the bush. But like Sony, that's like what they stand for. They can't do that forever now. Like they're coming along now, obviously, since 2018, they allowed crossplay. But like when it comes to crossplay, most online games now are choosing the gamer side for that. But it just depends on the management on both sides, the management of the platform. So like you said, Sony's allowing people to do it. Oh, why should we allow you? But also on the developer side, what resources they have to allocate the resources to making, setting up cross progression, setting up all this stuff, hiring someone to go through all the policies, making sure they match everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So here's another quote. Sony's public rationale of being skeptical of crossplay was stated to be about the risks of exposing Sony players to non-PSN markets. But it seems to have just been about trying to throw around their big sales numbers and leads. So like why open the gates to play with your friends on Xbox when these users would be like, oh, there's two of us PlayStation users and one of you X. Why don't you just sell your Xbox and get a PlayStation? Then we can play.
Yeah, they want players to buy PlayStations and get into the ecosystem.
Right. Over the time, I think Sony has just been like, they know they're losing that battle, right? They're knowing, because then they'd be like, oh, I've got a bunch of Xbox players here. There always seem to be Xbox crossplay with PC now and with Switch users, right? That seems to be like the thing. Sony is like the one platform that's kind of either left out, or they'll make their little deals and leave the Xbox guy out, right? But now, since PC gaming and Xbox gaming are like together all the time, the PlayStation users are pretty much the ones that are being left out.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why did we buy our PlayStations? Just to play their fucking first-party titles that we can't get on Xbox or PC, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, the kind of like the tragedy of crossplay not still being easy to facilitate is that, like, you know, there's a vast array of gamers in this generation playing on all different platforms, right? So, but the problem is all these gamers have friends that have different platforms because, you know, but who do we want to play online with? Friends, right? So, and friends aren't going to like coordinate what consoles to buy or buy the same one just so they can fucking play games.
Not
online
nowadays,
together.
no. But we used to have to do that back in the day.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the guys used to always try to
I think people
persuade me
still
to get
do that. I think people still do that. Like,
maybe,
but you're not all buying them at the same time. That's the thing.
Yes, exactly. Like,
So it's
you
hard
know,
to do, I guess.
Back in high school, all my buddies were like, all the guys were on Xbox and like trying to convince me to get an Xbox when I wanted a PlayStation 3. And the bottom line is people are selfishly driven. They're just going to get whatever the fucking console they want to get because that's what's speaking to them. That's why I bought a PS3. That's why I bought a PS4. That's why I bought a PS5. But then I got Xbox, whatever, because I was able to. So over time, I got all of them so that I had the opportunity to do this. But that's like what it takes these days is you have to have all the fucking consoles. But then it's like when a new game comes out that prioritizes this like online multiplayer experience that's huge. In an ideal world, you should be able to play those online with the people you want to play them with. And it just sucks that like we just can't do this yet, even in 2024. But instead, you know, you've already bought a copy on one platform and your best bud or brother bought it on another, and then they got to go and like return the one copy if they want to play it with you, or if they have the other platform even. You know, not everyone has that luxury. So it just kind of sucks because then you're stuck playing with strangers or alone even, right?
Story of my life.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's just like, it's a shame because with all this tech and stuff, like online games is just what people are doing these days. You know, it's like I'm saying that first person shooters are dying, yes, but like, you know, maybe so is the world of first person.
Why are you saying that?
Single player.
I don't think it's true. It's not
You
true.
don't think that's true? I think that there's a monopoly of like 3 games on first person shooter online games.
And there's lots and lots of players playing them.
Yeah. But I'm just saying
No,
that
it means like
if you create other new games of
genre.
the same model, it's not going to work. Like, I just think that people are uninterested in new first person shooters, online ones. Anyway, what the fuck do I know? I'm just saying. But but also single player games are maybe dying too. I don't know, because like online is this huge thing now. Everybody's got most of the time fast internet unless you live here. And that's going to be the main base is they have to
Online
start
co-op.
doing this quicker. I think they have to start jumping through these hoops and cutting all this red tape a lot quicker.
Online co-op single player games is sweet. Like that we're seeing more of that too. And to have that cross-platform would be even better. Like having a cross-platform online co-op that you can do the story mode on different platforms would be huge. But
well, like go back to Pal World, for instance, right? Even them releasing on Game Pass, getting the cross-platform between Game Pass
in Steam,
was or is, I don't even know if it's still. I think it's no. I don't think it's even there yet.
That's right, they couldn't do it.
It's you're playing on a PC, but there's one app has to be cross-platform with another app on the same fucking device, right? Same with Epic Games and Steam. So when Chivalry 2 came out, I bought it on Epic Games because it got released there first for a timed exclusive. And then Gillis bought it on Steam. And we couldn't play together. You know how fucking frustrating is? That's so stupid.
Was it like a version? Could be like a version mismatch.
Exactly. Yes. So that's what I was getting at next. Is with all that other shit, to have your cross-platform and all that stuff cohesive, everyone's got to be the same version, same build, same features, same everything. Everything's got to be the same. Okay? The only thing that doesn't need to be the same is like graphics settings, right? Like your resolution or your whatever. But like everything else has to be identical. Updates, patches, everything. And that probably is quite a big deal whenever you're dealing with 7 fucking platforms. So like take these Genshin Impact games, right? They're all cross-platform, they're all cross-play, cross-progression, cross everything. These Genshin Impact, you can play it on your phone, your iPhone, your Android phone, your tablets, your shitty laptops, your gaming PCs, your PS5s, everything.
Yeah,
You can
but
play
that's
it everywhere.
their thing.
Yeah.
That's their thing. But the thing is, it's not the technical requirements to do cross-platform it's what's stopping it in most cases. It's just
that costs money and it costs resources to.
No, that's not technical requirement. That's
No,
a resource.
okay, yes, resource requirement. Yes,
It's not like the devs can't fucking do it.
Yeah, right,
It's
correct.
just the fact that the game, they don't want to put the money into doing that because they can just not spend that money doing that and make more money.
and
That's
then
it.
maybe and if the game takes off, patch it down the road, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's internet. It's internet protocol. They connect together. Everyone uses the same fucking thing. It's a standard. It's called TCP/IP. They connect to fucking each other. Okay? It's easy. Originally, I thought maybe, you have different ways that programs interact with each other. Maybe if they were programmed in different languages, let's say, but that's called like a wrapper or an interface. But that's not the case here because the game engine dictates what language the game is written in either way.
Yeah.
And if the game is made in Unity or Unreal, it's made in the same language on multiple. Doesn't matter what platform it's on. It's the engine that was used. So that's not an issue. It just compiles it for different hardware and different operating system, whatever. So the language doesn't matter because the game is the same on both platforms. It's just because they're different platforms. There needs to be some kind of something in between them that connects them.
The
a layer.
Yes. Yeah.
A layer between them. And that's the thing that would take the resources to get working. That's all it is. It's just they need to spend time and money doing it, and that's it. But again, that would be
which
the
leads
dev's job
me
just
into
to
this
do.
Reddit post I found. Wahoo Zimmerman says, I led a team that implemented crossplay for a AAA title fairly recently. The big thing is that none of the first-party storefronts support interfacing with each other. And they all have certification requirements related to how interactions on their platform have to work. For example, if I have a friend playing on Xbox and I'm playing on PS4, my friends list must show the player is playing on Xbox and must display that player separately from other players. Okay? So you have to
like as a
develop
requirement.
as a requirement. So you have to develop your own account system, friends list, matchmaking, etc. All of that has to talk with a first-party systems, which all have different APIs and support different features. Basically, what you are already paying the first-party storefronts fees for in the first place, you've got to do yourself anyway and separately if you want to implement crossplay. This in turn comes with additional server hosting and infrastructure fees for maintaining your database and handling the traffic coming through your account system. In all, it only took a team of 4 programmers, most of them seniors, about 3 or 4 months of development work to support crossplay on a dedicated server between multiple PC storefronts and Xbox. So the cost is not trivial, and the resulting gain doesn't actually result in many additional purchases for most types of titles. So it doesn't get
the
prioritized.
juice worth the squeeze?
Right.
It costs money, and they do it based on whether they think the juice is worth the squeeze, and that is it.
Yep.
It's just
The bottom
more
line
work.
is the juice.
Right.
It's just matching policy and all the bullshit that happens at the I don't know what you call it, like a political layer. It was just a political thing.
Yeah, that's a new layer on the what's it called? The
OSI model.
OSI model.
The
new
political layer.
That's the top.
But yeah, that's all it is. It's not like a technical
it's
thing that's
politics
super hard to do
because
they
it's
can
like,
do it.
It's like I guess that's because it's policies of individual companies and what they envision for their future and their current resource pool and what they're capable of doing, or and their belief system. Like, oh, we don't want to do that because we have an agenda, so that would be a conflict of interest and blah blah blah, right? So yeah, I guess that is politics.
So what will it take for this to be a non-issue anymore? It will take their policies to change from Sony. From I don't know who has Sony's probably got the most bullshit.
I'm gonna assume so.
We're gonna assume Sony has the most crap in the way of making things cross-platform, because it seems like Xbox can just do it between Xbox and Windows, but they have Xbox launcher on Windows, and that's why it's so easy to do. They just do it because you have Xbox and you have Xbox for Windows or Windows gaming, whatever it is.
I did read another article where this guy was trying to get licensing from Xbox, but they just don't reply to them. They don't reply, and they don't tell them what he needs to do. Or when they do reply, it's like months and months, and then they're like, "Oh, send him an email." It's like, "Oh, you have to have this done," and then he's like, "Oh," and then he like gets it done, and he sends another email or calls, and they don't return his call, and it's like months pass, right?
That's all it is.
So
it's just politics.
It's politics and bullshit. Now,
so that's what's stopping cross play, cross progression, politics.
Very cool, very cool. So I remember when Destiny 2 was about to go cross-platform. Do you remember this? So you were all like segregated on all your platforms. So like no one was playing cross-play together at all. And then they had some sort of epiphany where they thought, "Oh, we could probably make more money if all these players were playing together." Right? So they actually had a GDC summit, like a whole slideshow presentation how they worked on cross-platform or cross-play. Very cool. It was very long. I didn't watch it all. I actually took the transcription, copied that, I pasted it into ChatGPT, and I said, "Give me a summary." And he summarized what and how Destiny 2 got crossplay working here. So there's a couple of points. I'm just going to go through them real quick. The motivation, the primary goal was to create a unified Destiny 2 universe where players on all platforms could interact seamlessly, continuing the cross-save system that they had previously before. So you could cross-save between PlayStation 4 and 5 kind of thing. The challenges, Bungie had to modify their Tiger engine, developed during the Halo era, which posed significant technical challenges. So they weren't using a big box Unreal or Unity. They were using a custom engine that didn't have these features like built in, ready to go. They had to modify their own engine to get these cross-platform play ironed out. Cross-platform play involved building new systems from scratch, including networking, player identities like Bungie names, social features like how to have friends, friend lists, invites.
Because you have to have an in-game, like Rocket League does.
Yes, exactly.
It's an in-game account. That's the only way to centralize kind of everything.
Yeah.
And that takes fucking time.
Yeah, I'm sure that took fucking forever. They had to integrate various platform APIs with integration with various platform APIs was complex due to certifications and technical requirements from first-party platforms like Sony and Microsoft. That was the challenges. The key systems were networking. Significant changes were made to handle cross-platform communication. Player identity, Bungie introduced their Bungie names. I remember that. You had to go make a Bungie name account, and then you had to do this conversion process. And it took like a couple of days. And they would send you an email saying, "Okay, your account has been migrated." Right? It was like doing a migration at your office, but like on a gaming.
It's kind of cool how this stuff kind of has happened incrementally, very slowly over time. That now we look back and like, oh, that's what they were doing this whole time, kind of thing.
Yeah. And the friends and matchmaking, like I said before. Third-party integrations. To save time, Bungie used third-party solutions for voice chat and text moderation, but developed their own text chat system. So they hired companies or hired apps to plug in to just have that kind of stuff done. And then they phased the rollout, so cross-play was gradually released, starting with internal testing, followed by beta versions for the players. This allowed Bungie to incrementally build, test, refine the friend systems and all the experience before releasing it fully in 2021. I remember all that. I remember it was quite like, it took like 2 or 3 months as a player just to finally like migrate all the accounts, make sure everything was working fine. I played a few of the betas, all that kind of stuff. Very, very cool on the insights on that.
There it is.
Yep.
Well, I think that obviously crossplay is the biggest hurdle that they have to cross. See what I did there?
Yeah. Cross gaming.
But I think that there are some other cool things. I mean, like a couple notes I have that I can close with, but like, I don't know. Cross-platform, not that the question is whether or not it's an issue or whatever. I've never really had an issue with cross-platform or anything like that, only because I have most of the consoles available, and so it's not really an issue for me if something comes out that's not for everything else. I'll just buy it for whatever, you know. Sometimes a title is PC exclusive. I'm okay with that because of the road I chose. I'm not a PC gamer, and there are so many games these days anyway where I can keep busy and find something else. Most PC exclusives aren't a killer app to me. So I'm not going to like become a PC gamer because of this one game that comes out or anything like that. So whatever. I don't give a shit. Doesn't affect me. Cross progression is a cool feature, but do you guys, just like one last question, do you guys find it like really useful to most gamers? Like most just like generic gamers who aren't like hardcore have every single thing. Like, does it really matter?
I'd say it would be more, it's more important on free to play games, obviously, because you're not buying the different copies of
more
the
than
game.
one copy
And buying
right.
multiple versions, like the skin multiple times, you know?
So that's the target for cross progression. Because I was going to say, other than that, the only experience I had was my accidental Assassin's Creed Valhalla thing, right? Do you guys remember when I bought it for 1X first?
Yeah.
And then eventually PS5 came out, and I was like, oh, it'd be cool to try it on next gen. So I bought it for that. Then decided my PS5 I was going to just keep for Sony exclusives. So I think I sold my PS5 copy or something, but I kept my Xbox One, and then they came out with the Series X update, and I was like, oh shit, I'll play it on Series X now. But all of this while being able to just continue my save file was really cool.
Very cool.
But that was kind of like an accident. Beyond that, I just don't think I have any use for it because I'm not playing free to play.
It's for
online
big
games.
Like you said, the big companies will do it. Like Bungie is doing it, like on Destiny. But it's also been out for a long time, Destiny. So that could be another reason why they did that. Like, people have been changing consoles.
Platforms.
They're hopping platforms. It's been out for years. Like, we should make cross progression so that there can, if they buy the game on a different platform, they can play their save file. They can continue.
And that helps make more money, right? Because then people won't buy it on other platforms.
Yeah.
So like if they open that gate, then people will buy it on multiple platforms. Like I did.
To sum up, I guess those final thoughts are crossplay is the biggest hurdle. They got to get that solved ever.
No, the hurdle is policy. Policy is the
policy
hurdle.
and bureaucracy
I know, but
is the
within
hurdle.
It's bureaucracy.
Yeah, within
that's all it is.
Our episode scope, though, the crossplay is the thing that needs the most work over time. But cross progression only useful mostly for free to play online games. There you go. There you have it.
But I don't see them changing policies anytime soon to make it easier for gamers to play with each other, I just don't see that happening because they can't make any money on that.
They don't care about the experience anymore. They just care about the investors and the bottom line, and that's just
Which
the way this
old
world is going.
Perspective. That's
So
an
next
old
time
school perspective.
next time we buy a game, right? Usually this happens with like the lower, like single AA games where we buy them like, oh, this would be great with crossplay, right? So we can play each other. And that always happens with those like smaller budget games. And we're like, fuck, it's only PS5 and PC, right? We know why now.
Because The publishers or the investors are stuck in the old days of the late 90s and the early 2000s when it was just about making your money, and they're not adapting with the way gamers are playing games these days. This is the way it's moving, and they're
I feel
not
like
changing.
back then, it wasn't like this in gaming. In
because you couldn't
other
do
things,
it back then.
yes.
Well, you couldn't do it.
In
And
business,
That's what
it's
I'm saying,
business.
is they're stuck on the business end of it. They're still stuck in the past like that because they're not
Yeah.
thinking about the gamer experience, which is what it's about these days.
Not
That's-
Philly cheesesteak Spencer. He's all for getting everyone
yeah,
playing
I mean,
together.
like,
you know?
he's a good
That's his
example of
facade.
someone
That's
who-
his mask.
Spill Fencer?
Bill Fencer?
Spill fencer.
Yeah, I think one of the FNG guys called, I think it was Will. I think it was Will one day, and I fucking laughed so hard on one of their episodes. I don't remember which it was, but anyway, that's my take, because I think that these guys are stuck in the past, and they're not going to change because they're just thinking about the money, but they need to adapt because we're not playing games like we used to anymore.
Yep.
You know?
Because CEOs aren't gamers.
Yeah,
This is what I
exactly.
think.
They're a bunch of
Gamers.
old fucking farts at a board meeting being like, Shane, listen to me, Shane.
This is what I think. I think policy should be more lenient towards smaller studios, because when people buy these smaller studio games, they're going to buy them on different platforms. An incentive for people to play with their friends and like kind of boost that indie game or studio, a lot of people won't buy it because they can't play with their friends on the platform of their choosing, right? So if they kind of loosen some kind of policy or the restrictions for smaller studios, I think that would be a nice first step to get people playing with each other and helping indie studios get the money, instead of having them just to sign their soul to Sony and Sony saying, well, you're only on PlayStation, you know, and you can only play with fucking Switch players for some reason, right? So that's what I think it needs to happen. Will it? I don't know. But I think crossplay is the future. Everyone has their own. We're already kind of solidified in our, like, I'm a PC Microsoft guy. I'm not huge on PlayStation. You know, I'll stick to my PC more than anything. But to be able to play with PlayStation friends is huge. It's very nice to have. And now that we've got even more apps coming out, like Amazon Games has a game launcher, Ubisoft's game launcher, you got Microsoft Game Pass game launcher, Steam, Epic Store, all this shit. That's more platforms that need to be cross play within each other, even on the same device. So
The policy is only going to change. It's got to come from the top down, right? And why would they change it if it's not going to do anything for them?
Yep.
It's got to come from the top. So maybe once the gamer, the generation grows older, gets, in those positions,
They'll make the change because they care about.
maybe
But,
they'll make the change.
it's been changing because, like,
But it does cost money to make the change too.
Yeah.
Do you know how much policy
yeah,
people make? Like someone to write a policy, like a revamp a policy.
like a lawyer stamper guy.
Yeah, like they make a lot of money. You pay them a lot.
But
that's going to cost a lot to change.
Only in the
policy.
last year or so has Sony been actively porting their games to PC now, right? Like Ghost of Tsushima, God of War, the Horizon
Yeah.
games. Like they're opening that. So like, oh, there's another platformer there where we can make money. Like, why aren't we putting our games there? So now they're cross-platform on many games, and the games that are coming out. Now they need to. Now they're starting to do their cross-play, like with Concord. Rest in peace, But like, but I think that it's
You're
getting
so
there.
young.
It's getting there, but
Concord.
time. Yeah, Concord. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about that.
Same. I think we're done with this.
Cool.
It's just policy, folks.
So, listeners, watchers, what do you think? Do we hit the nail on the head here? Is this what's stopping crossplay? If you've worked on a crossplay implementation, let us know. Tell us how it went. What was the biggest hurdle? Let us know. Alrighty, that's it for this week's episode. We want to thank everyone for taking the time to listen and or watch. Please be sure to like and subscribe on the YouTube and give us a rating and review on Spotify or Apple. If you could, that helps us get out there to more ear holes for people to listen to us. Also, we are now part of the Superpod Network, a network of podcasts you can find, browse, and check out over on superpodnetwork.com. Remember, you can always leave us a DM on Facebook and Instagram, or tweet us if you want to leave a comment or ask any questions. Thanks, everyone. Hope you have a wonderful day, and game on.
See you later.
See ya.